How was your toast?
Oh, my toast was good. My toast was great.
Was it?
So like I essentially right. I was considering what do I want on my toast? Do I want honey? Do I want Marmite? Do I want jam? Do I want Nutella? Right? And then I committed a crime and had one slice with a topping on each. So I had
That's not
four
really.
slices of toast, and then I
Yeah.
had Marmite on one, Nutella on another, honey on one, and then jam on the other.
There's nothing wrong with that.
No, is that not? I thought
No,
that was weird.
no. That's just mixing it up, different
Is
flavors.
it? I thought it was. I thought Twitter would kill me if I mentioned that I had more than one, more
Twitter
than one
would kill you.
topping.
Oh, you ate bread? No way.
How dare you? Was it not vegan?
You ate
Uh,
Nutella. Do you know how much palm oil is in Nutella?
it is quite bad, to be completely fair. And speaking of bad, welcome to episode 11 of the 107 podcast. Today we are covering, Miami, I guess.
Miami, yes.
Wow, what a race.
I know. It was literally the only good thing was that Max didn't get on pole.
Wow. I
So we
mean,
had a bit of action.
I in all honesty, I actually quite enjoyed the first 20 laps of the race and the last
Oh yeah,
five,
exactly.
and then
Just
not a lot happened in between.
I know.
Other than me, crying for all the McLaren fans out there. It's just horrific. You've got a generational talent and you've given him four midfield cars and a tractor. It's not great. Anywho, so let's talk about quali. Should we start with quali?
Yeah, we did because
We're gonna
quali was exciting.
Yeah, quali was interesting. We're going to jump straight in and not beat around the bush. Quali was pretty interesting. I want to start off, obviously, purely because it's the easiest one to do. McLaren were in the bin after having a very successful Baku, just completely in the bin. And speaking of binning it, we will talk about Ferrari. Sainz did pretty well, to be completely honest. Can't say the same for Charles. That didn't go particularly well. He actually binned it.
Yeah, he just really went for it and just overstepped it and into the back.
He seemed to
into the
bump
barriers.
up over the curb, and then as the car came up, it just completely lost all of its downforce, which is just very strange. Yeah, I don't fully understand exactly what happened, but it's not good anyway.
Yeah, well, he said that the car had an aggressive setup.
Yes,
And he went
yeah.
aggressive, and it just looks like it was just as what does Martin Brundle say? Uh, too much ambition, not enough adhesion, or something like that.
Sure.
Ambition over adhesion, and yeah, he went over the bumps, disrupted the car into the barriers, red flag, quali's over.
Yeah.
Perez on pole, and Mr. Alonso in second.
Yeah, well, we'll start with Perez. Perez, it's what was alluded to. He got a banker in the bank before giving it one last go. Max actually messed up on his banker lap as well. So he then had to restart, and then the red flag came out because of Charles. Meaning essentially that we had the last one or maybe even two laps that cars could have actually, given a go and gone for the actual fastest possible times that they could possibly go for. So it meant the top 10 was very, very jumbled up. I would very quickly like to mention a team which didn't even get into Q3, which was AlphaTauri. Sonoda down in 17th and De Vries up in 15th. Let's be honest, the car's not the greatest thing in the world. And yeah, I think De Vries did pretty well to get out of Q1, but just then couldn't make it out of Q2 at all, and finished dead last in Q2, finishing P15 for quali. Another team that didn't get out of quali particularly well, actually, I'd argue that Albon did pretty well. Albon was 11th, and obviously then set himself up pretty nicely for Sunday, and Sargent came dead last. Yeah, not a lot else I can say. Slightly disappointing I guess, for Sargent, because this is his home Grand Prix. He grew up like
Yeah.
25 minutes down the road from Miami, so it's a little bit disappointing, I guess, for him. And then lastly, before we get on to the big boys, Alfa Romeo, they actually managed to reach Q3. Bottas managed to get a 10th. He didn't even get a lap time in Q3 thanks to the red flag that Charles caused. But now every single team has had one Q3 appearance in 5 races of the 2023 season, which is pretty interesting.
I mean, it's just a shame that the Red Bull is just so far ahead of everyone because it would be a
Yeah.
really competitive season.
Yeah, we'll chat a little bit more about the Red Bull. Obviously, Max wasn't able to get like a proper lap in and was 9th. And then Perez was on pole. And I think there was a bit of luck, I guess, leaning towards Perez in terms of, Max not able to get in a banker. But at the same time, like, if Max hadn't have made that mistake, who knows where everything else would have been. Yeah, there's no telling really.
It probably would have been a Red Bull 1-2 Max.
Probably, yeah, but you don't fully know.
Yeah.
The track was getting faster and faster, which is good. I think the pole time was like 2 seconds quicker than pole last year or something like that. So, admittedly, they did change the last turn before that big long straight that we complained about before. They made it slightly easier for drivers to attack, which is nice. And also they shortened the DRS zones as well. So that also surprised me that we were actually to be able to get such quicker lap times. But I guess also there's more time in the sims for drivers and stuff like that. So I guess all of it helps. But the fastest lap time we had during quali was a 1:26.8. So it'd be interesting to see if we manage to go even quicker in quali next year.
Yep. No. Yeah, it was. I think it was also interesting that there was no running done, and the track just got quicker and quicker and quicker, which really mixed up the order. Because you're thinking, all right, is this quick enough? Do I need to go for another banker? Oh, sorry, another lap and everything like that. So that's quite an interesting thing when the track just evolves that quickly over Q1, Q2, Q3.
Yeah,
that you're just not safe, are you?
Yeah,
as Hamilton proved as well.
Yeah, to give you an idea, the slowest time, the fastest time was Sargent in Q1. That was a 1:28.5. And then the quickest time in Q3 was a 1:26.8 by Perez, which was the pole time. But Perez's quickest in Q1 was 1:27.7. So somehow you've managed to find essentially a second in there over, the course of maybe 100 laps by Formula One cars buzzing around all at different times. So it's very interesting that the track sort of changed that much. I know the temperature changed as well, but it's very interesting that the times changed so quickly and just dropped off dramatically. So just very quickly, the last teams for quali, Gasly was P5 and Ocon was P8. Both Alpines in the top 10 was pretty good. Not gonna lie, that's pretty respectable from the French team. Russell was 6th, which is pretty good. And he absolutely destroyed his teammate Lewis Hamilton, who was down in 13th, which is a very big gap for those silver arrows, and slightly concerning.
Lewis mentioned he had some issues. I don't know if it's an issue or just how the team released him. I think he didn't have enough time to set himself up for a quali lap.
No.
What he was saying, they left it too late. And then he had some issues that, he didn't actually get a chance to run again. So, yeah. I mean, he did a right race, though, which we'll talk about. But, yeah, bit of a shame.
Yeah, a little bit of a shame. And then lastly, I think we've mentioned everyone other than Haas, who...
Aston.
We mentioned Alonso earlier.
We mentioned Alonso, but
we didn't mention Stroll. To be fair, Stroll down in P18, I don't know what happened to him. In arguably the second fastest car, you're down in P18. What's going on?
What is going on? Yeah. I'm sure there was probably some issue or something.
It's just very strange that you're in the second fastest car and you're then P18 with apparently no issues as far as we could work out. So... just very strange. And then obviously, we had Alonso up in P2. Did a fantastic job. Absolutely fantastic. And then, like I said, we got Kevin up in 4th, which completely unexpected. It was his highest starting position ever in a Haas. And then also Hülkenberg was down in 12th as well. So, it put the Haas boys in a pretty good position to, go ahead and try and score points on the Sunday. And they did score points on Sunday, didn't they?
They did.
They did. Obviously, with Magnussen starting up in 4th, kind of hoped and expected that he would do a little bit better than he did. But he did have a pretty interesting fight with Charles, which is good. Or at least it wasn't necessarily good, but it was entertaining. It was an entertaining battle between those two. And finishing just outside the points yet again was Yuki Tsunoda. I just wanted to mention that purely because his finishes this season have been 11th, 11th, 10th, 10th, 11th. He is Mr. Consistent. Do you remember when
sometimes a bride, sometimes a bridesmaid?
We used to call George Russell Mr. P5. Yuki's like teetering on the edge.
It was Mr. Saturday, wasn't
Mr. Saturday,
and then he
before,
became Mr. Sunday,
and now he's Princess George.
And Alonso was Alonzo because he always used to get 5th, so it's ALON50.
Nice, yeah, didn't know that
now
one.
Now he's always in P3. I don't know what the Alonso P3 thing is.
No idea. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to scramble to L plan. You could switch the 3 round and it makes an E.
It could be. Yes.
Threll plan.
Oh no, Fernando, you change the E to 3.
Yeah, for 3 and
F3 Nando.
F3 Nando. Yeah.
F3 Ronaldo.
Yeah. So
okay. So let's start at the top then. Red Bulls 1 and 2. Sergio, your exact words were fumbled the bag.
Yeah, I think Sergio fumbled the bag massively.
I think he should have built a bigger gap over.
I think
Max.
I
don't know if
Perez obviously started on the medium, and the medium wasn't as good as we thought it was going to be, which is a real shame. And I think that played into it. Excuse me, I've got hiccups. I think that played into it, which is why I'm saying he half fumbled the bag, because essentially he probably should have built up a little bit more of a gap, but at the same time,
positions swapped. Right, Max is on the mediums. Sergio is in, was it 8th or 6th? 9th on the hards. Do you think the same thing would have happened?
No.
Sergio would have just.
Do you know what? I would be very interested to see if and when the script flips and you have maybe Perez down in like P10, 12, whatever. I would like to see Perez in a similar situation try and beat Verstappen.
There was Australia, and he came through the field, but
and then what?
Max still won.
Yeah, exactly.
But do you think that because Sergio's quite good on his tyres, he would have kind of done what Max done and really used the hards?
Maybe we give credit to Checo for keeping an eye on his tyres, but maybe Max is also very good on his tyres.
Yeah, I'm sure he is.
I think
that's a big what if, because I think Sergio, being good on his tyres, could have done what Max done, had the consistent fast pace, and then pitted over to the yellow walls ahead, or just a second and a bit behind.
Yeah, but I think for me, even if the roles were reversed, I'd still put my money on Verstappen to win from that position. I think a lot of things were said over the weekend as well around like the Red Bull being a ridiculous car and blah 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 blah. And I think it is a ridiculous car. However, it's only highlighted as being completely ridiculous by the absolute monster which is Verstappen. I think that, like, if you look at, let's say, Mercedes for 2015, 2016, you had Nico and Hamilton were obviously pretty close, right? Whereas now that Verstappen and Perez are arguably worlds apart some weekends. It's ridiculous. I think if you still ask me to put to put all my savings on someone to win the WDC, I'm still putting it on Verstappen every single day of the week.
Yeah.
The guy is unreal, just absolutely unreal, and he has an unreal car as well. And in all honesty, yes, it is slightly disappointing that there isn't more competitiveness from the rest of the field, but at the same time, like I'm here for it because I mean it's still pretty good racing.
Yeah, it's still good racing. Yeah. And also
Um,
with Lewis and Nico, there was times where like, who's actually going to put it on pole, right?
yeah,
Right. And Nico came ahead quite a few times, and everyone thought Hamilton would just destroy him. And also, they're very close to each other on the track,
yeah,
which we're not getting enough of with Max and Sergio.
no.
So
Because I'm not saying that, you know, Perez is as good as Nico.
no,
I'm not
Max is
saying
the
anything like
generation.
that. I'm just saying that Verstappen is just a fucking freak.
Yeah.
Like an absolute freak of naturally good. It's insane how good he is.
Yeah. And I think that's just the disappointing thing. It's just like, okay, if the Red Bulls are way ahead of the field, that's fine. But let's just see a fight between the two drivers.
I mean, as well, and also just to further double down on my comment as well. If you look at, 2 years ago when Verstappen was pushing Lewis for the title, where was Perez finishing? He wasn't pushing.
Where was
Hamilton,
Valtteri finishing?
But yeah, where was Valtteri pushing? So I mean, where was Valtteri like in the championship as well? So I just think for me, it just sort of further proves that Verstappen is just levels above Perez. Again, nothing against Perez. Perez is phenomenal, but he's just not Max. Just to even further double down on that. And obviously with Verstappen winning, he has now won 38 races for Red Bull. Which is the same as my main man, Sebastian Vettel. However, Vettel did it in less races and arguably in a less competitive car.
Well, I don't know because Max.
No. Before you say anything, who did you want to win during those years? Alonso. So I feel like you're a bit biased in this, but please continue.
No. I'm saying, right. First of all, when did Sebastian join Red Bull?
2009.
Okay, and that car was winning races in 2009, all the way up to 14.
Yes.
Which is when Mercedes came in and they dropped down a little bit, but still won a few. But Daniel Ricciardo won a few.
Yeah.
Max joined the Red Bull when? 2016.
I was going to say 15, but that was when he won in the Toro. No.
He was in the Toro Rosso, but 2016 he joined Red Bull.
Sorry, yeah, I'm getting very confused. Yes,
when his debut race, but he joined at a time of Mercedes dominance, and then Ferrari coming in with a rocket ship of a car. So he had two teams to contend with for wins. So I would say arguably it was harder for him to get those same amount of wins. And then when the car was competitive, 2021, Mercedes and Lewis were there. And then 2022, 2023, he's running away with it. So put some respect on his name.
Nah, I'm putting all of my respect on Verstappen on Vettel's name. Damn it, you confused me. I'm putting all my respect on Vettel's name. 100%. Can't knock Seb. Can't ever knock Seb. But yeah, so it's an incredible achievement, regardless of how you put it. I think Max is obviously going to continue to smash that, and also let's be honest, there are more races per season as well now. So Vettel's achievements are even better. So just going to point that out. Anyway, so we've talked about the Red Bulls a lot. Anything else you want to chat about these two?
No.
No,
I think
great. All right, let's move on to Alonso. Should we just go from top to bottom?
Yeah. Well, no, we'll do it team by team. So Alonso is in P3 and Stroll was in P12. I think Stroll did well to kind of fight back.
Yeah.
Good on him, showing some racecraft. Alonso, like I said, had a boring race. Was actually watching Stroll on the screen.
Watching Stroll on the screen overtake. Who was it? It was a Bottas, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think he said it was like a really good move.
Yeah, it was really good move into turn one. It's like how on earth? I saw somebody on Twitter found the exact moment that he was watching the screen, and it was as he was turning into a corner, and he was just glancing. You can see his helmet's pointed in the direction of the TV. It's mad. But I guess obviously, like he was 20 seconds
Look,
behind
he's not touching the
Perez.
Red Bull, and in
Like,
that car at Miami, he was the best of the rest. Was
yeah,
pulling away from Sainz. I know him and Sainz had a little back
tussle.
and forth when Sainz pitted
Yeah,
and then Alonso, but once he built the gap, it was just like, okay, I'm just driving along. But
pretty much. Yeah,
it's now coming up to the slower corner tracks with Imola, Monaco, and Spain, where
yeah.
hopefully, do I think he'll get pole? Not with the Red Bulls and with Sergio and Max being as good as they are. But I do think that if there's going to be a surprise winner, or if he's going to win a race, those three are his best opportunities.
I think
Monaco,
Monaco,
especially. Yeah.
Monaco. Like if you're Alonso and if you have the weekend of your life, you could win.
Yeah.
And I think he's got it in him.
He's definitely got it in him. So
all it takes is one pretty good lap from Alonso and he's done it as far as I'm concerned. Like I hope with everything I have that Alonso manages to win a race this year. It would just be unreal. Like for the culture, it would be unreal. I mean, although it would probably break his point streak of scoring 15 points at every single event this season, or race weekend, I guess. I'm all here for it. Like, I really, really do want Alonso to win this season for sure.
do.
Just one. That's all I'm asking for. Just one. I don't care which one. I really don't care.
I even think he doesn't care which one.
He doesn't care either. Just one would be incredible. He had a pretty good race. Incredibly supportive teammate by the sounds of things as well. And the only other thing really I want to talk about, there's not much else to talk about in terms of Stroll, but I think that Stroll still kind of really had a howler in arguably the second best car. Maybe it was set up or whatever it was, but still, I feel like Stroll maybe had to pull his finger out a little bit over this weekend, and he's not fumbled it as badly as Perez, but he still fumbled the bag a little bit. And I'd like to see, Turkey 2020 Stroll.
I reckon he'll bounce back in Imola.
Yeah. I think he's gonna bounce back. Absolutely he is.
I did hope Imola's a wet race. That would be really interesting.
That would be interesting for sure. Yeah. There was predictions of a little bit of. There was predictions for a little bit of rain as well, wasn't there, over the weekend? But
for Miami on Sunday, yeah. I think it got a little bit grey towards the end. But
but that's about it.
Really. So
Mercedes next.
Mercedes, P4 for George and P6 for Lewis.
Yep.
So I think great recovery drive for Lewis. Made some great moves as well. I think the one on Valtteri, the switchback was really good.
Pretty impressive, yeah.
Yeah, George done well. It seems to be in qualifying trim, seems to be George gets a little bit more out of it. In race trim, the Mercedes does seem to be a better car. But yeah, the fact that they are still struggling. I know they got the updates coming in Imola, so it'll be interesting to see where that puts the car when it does. But even Toto, I think, is starting to grow a bit frustrated as well with his comments over the weekend. Don't really understand why.
I mean, in practice 1, they were 1 and 2.
I mean, I don't really pay that.
I know it's a practice, but they still were 1 and 2 in a session. Not the ones that matter, but
Yeah. So the Imola upgrades probably can't come soon enough for George and Lewis, but if they don't work, there's going to be some serious questions about what's going to happen at Mercedes.
Yeah, I think I don't think it will be as bad as last year when Verstappen overtook Hamilton in like P16 or something like that. He lapped him. Yeah. Something like that. It was bad. I
don't think so, but I think if Hamilton doesn't see improvement over the season, Hamilton to Ferrari, Leclerc to Mercedes. That's what I'm saying next season.
Well, would you like to talk about the Ferraris? We'll talk about Sainz really quick, and then we'll come back to Charles. Sainz managed a P5 even with a 5-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane. A little bit ferocious coming into the pit lane.
He wanted to declare Alonso, didn't he?
Yeah, I know.
So
But
he's trying to get every little bit of advantage he can get, and just overcooked it that time. Because he came out obviously really racy. He's trying to take as many cars, build
yeah,
the gap, and he did. He when Alonso pitted, he had to get he had to get past signs.
yeah.
But once he got past signs, it's like, see ya.
Yeah, pretty much. I think that he did reasonably well, but yeah, it was just a bit of a shame that he managed to pick up that time penalty, because then obviously all the other racers around him, their mentality changes, like, oh, can I stay within 5 seconds, etc., because he'd already made his pit stop. And yeah, but other than that, I think he did all right. P5 is not too bad, to be completely
Yeah,
honest.
he did do all right. Yeah.
Can't really argue with 10 points for the championship. The other car that we've got to talk about is Charles in P7.
Chuck. I'm surprised no one called him
Chuck
Chuck, but he wasn't on the
Leclerc.
podium.
Yeah, he wasn't on the podium, unfortunately. We did have a
Yeah.
different interviewer. We actually had somebody with some wheel knowledge in the form of Jenson Button,
JB,
drivers world champion for 2010.
come on, mate.
No, oh my God, 9. Jesus.
Right. Yes.
And like much better than whoever that random bloke was last year, which is absolutely brilliant.
Actually, since we're talking about good interviews, I would like to shout out Danica Patrick in the qualifying interviews. She did a really good job.
Oh yeah, what, at the end of qualifying?
Yeah, when she interviewed Fernando, Sergio, and
Yeah.
Carlos, she was asking some really, really good questions.
Yeah, she did brilliantly. Yeah.
So shout out to her.
Yeah, very, very well. So yes, but yeah, going back to Charles, and you mentioned obviously a Lewis Charles swap. Charles Leclerc has now crashed 5 times this season, which is more than Mick Schumacher crashed the entirety of last season.
Okay, we're going to have to go through some of these crashes.
Let's discuss.
Well, I think that's been said of him as his criticism, right? Is that he just doesn't know when to just hold it back, which is what makes him such a great qualifier.
Yeah.
But also makes him inconsistent.
Yes.
And if he wants to be world champion, which I do think he has a very good chance of doing if he gets given the car, he's just got to tidy up those little mistakes.
Yeah.
And I think he will. People forget this guy is still quite young.
Yeah, right? He is incredibly young. I think last year Ferrari screwed him more times than I care to mention. And it is what it is. 100%. And it just was Ferrari. However, the mistakes now are him.
Yeah,
which is a real shame. It does,
and he's got the pace. That's we saw him back. Right?
Yeah,
he's got the pace.
That's exactly what I was about to say. It does disappoint me because he very clearly does have the pace, and hopefully he can pull it together. Really,
and he had a good recovery drive.
Yeah,
as well.
It was decent enough. I mean, P7 is nothing to complain about, to be completely honest. Once you binned it in quali. And started off.
And a couple of his teammates, so good on him. But I think he's just got to nail that consistency, and he'll be firing on all cylinders. I mean, like he got more points in Baku than he did his opening races, so he's coming back into consistency and form. Well, actually, the form never really left him. So, but I think he'll be all right for the rest of the season. I don't think we're going to see too many mistakes from him.
Yeah, I want to see Chuck Leclerc. I don't want to see Charles or this season.
No, we want to see Charles. Okay, we don't want to see Chuck.
Chuck
is the one that binned it in the wall.
I wanted to see Chuck because Chuck managed the podium last year. But yeah, so obviously just slightly disappointing for the Ferrari fans. And then next down the list we have Gasly and Ocon paired together from the Alpines. And I was saying this to I can't even remember who, but double points for Alpine. You can't complain. You genuinely can't complain.
No, they did well. I think obviously with what happened in qualifying, Gasly was up there in P4 or something. And look, they knew they didn't have the pace to fight with the Astons, Mercedes.
Gasly was P5, yes.
P5, sorry. But they didn't have the pace, so let's just go for a different strategy, run along, and just get some solid points on the board, which they did.
Yep.
And fair play to them. So
yeah, they did pretty well. 6 points, not too shabby at all. And I was also going to just say as well, essentially it was just a repeat of last week for them.
Yeah, it was.
They like literally just like, let's play the long game. Let's, hope for a safety car, that sort of thing. Maybe that will jumble things up. But
Very
they did very
interesting that
well.
no one crashed in the race. And there was no
Well,
safety car.
we will get to the no one crashed in a race because I have a bone to pick with a certain short gentleman. But for now, let's talk about Haas. Before we talk about the team with the shortest driver pairing, Haas, like I mentioned and alluded to before, Magnussen had a slightly disappointing drive. In terms of dropping from P4 all the way down to P10. But I'll take a world championship point for
I think
for
he
Haas.
did well to get in the points. If you look at the
Yeah.
cars ahead of him,
Yeah.
Red Bulls, one Aston, so that's where he got his point. Mercedes,
Yeah.
Ferrari, and I think the Alpines at this point are kind of race pace quicker.
Yeah.
So I think he did well. He had some
True.
good, like he was fighting Leclerc.
Leclerc for a while.
You're not going to give up, just because you're in a quicker car.
Going back slightly as well. That double takeover from overtake, from Max over the fighting Charles and Magnussen was just brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Knew that they would both lose time going into that corner, and knew that if he just picked his line and stayed very, very tight to the next apex, he was good.
Yeah, Red Bull DRS, double slipstream.
But it's not even just the car. It's just great racecraft. It is great racecraft. So there's that. But yeah. So going back to Magnussen, I just mean that it's slightly disappointing he didn't manage P9 or P8. That's all I meant from starting up in P4. But he still drove a pretty good race, and
give the guy some credit.
Yeah, no, this is the thing. I'm giving him some credit. He did have a very good race.
He's like P10. It could have been P9.
Yeah, I mean, even he said it was a little bit disappointing.
Could have been P1.
Yeah, I'm not expecting Kevin to put it
P1. If it's
P1.
P1, well, it could have been the World Drivers' Championship.
Yeah. But yeah, I like I said, slightly disappointed that it wasn't a cheeky P9 or maybe even a P8, but it is what it is. And then we have
early on in the season, Haas will take it.
Yeah.
Haas
exactly. And then P11, just outside the points, Yuki, but had a great race as far as
Yuki
I'm concerned.
had a great race. He is doing really well this season.
Yuki is doing really well.
Yeah, he's getting the best out of that car.
I had a little bit of a conversation / debate on Twitter where they were talking about the AlphaTauri being the slowest car, the 10th quickest car, and I was like, is it really the 10th quickest car, or is it just that Nick really isn't that quick in this car, and it's
I think
dragging him down?
I think I would say the Haas is quicker.
I think the Haas is quicker than the. I would argue that it is probably a slower.
I think the
car.
Haas is quicker than the AlphaTauri.
Yes, yeah, but I think that the Haas has its the AlphaTauri has its moments essentially, and there are tracks that are better suited to it. And I do think that Yuki is driving the wheels off of that thing. I think it's a very similar situation to Daniel Ricciardo and Norris last year, to Tsunoda and Nick De Vries this year. You have one driver who is driving the wheels off of that car, doing really well and driving it better than it probably should be driven. And then you have one driver who just isn't getting the hang of the car. Obviously, that one driver who isn't really getting the hang of it being Nick / Daniel Ricciardo. I think it's a very similar situation as to before. Maybe expectations were, even for myself, a little bit high of Nick.
They were high from me,
and they were very high from you. But it's just not been plain sailing. Let's say that for sure. And it's just disappointing, really. I want to see Nick, do better than he's doing, but he just isn't.
Yeah. No, I get it. And when you've got Yuki performing in that car, you know what the car is capable of.
Exactly. So you know that car is capable of points, Nick.
A bit sassy there, but okay.
So, come on, Nick.
All right. Okay. Let's move on.
Unbelievable.
Let's move on before the jokes get even worse. Alfa Romeo. So you had Valtteri.
So who are they? I'm thinking of Alfa Romero.
Alfa Romero. What?
Did you miss that?
No.
You
I
didn't
did. I
miss
probably
that.
did miss it. I did miss it.
So there was an influencer who was invited to the Miami Grand Prix,
Yeah.
and she was doing a like "get ready with me" video, and she was like
I
doing her
don't. I
makeup and
don't
stuff.
watch like TikTok and stuff
And
like. You're my social guy.
I am your social guy. And
You.
she was like, "Yeah, so Alfa Romero are gonna put me in like one of those little F1 cars." And like the whole of TikTok / Twitter just ripped into this woman because she mispronounced it. Obviously, she said Alfa Romero, not Alfa Romeo. It's just
Yeah.
funny. And then Alfa Romeo called themselves Alfa Romero in a few tweets, which was brilliant. At least one, maybe more. I don't know, but it was funny. But she got ripped into. And I will bring up the topic a little bit later just to cover a couple of bits and pieces. But let's go back to Alfa Romeo. And I very nearly called them Alfa Romero then. But Alfa, they did not too
So
badly
P13
compared to
for Valtteri and P16
16 for
Zhu.
Zhu. So
For Guan Yu Zhu.
they did slightly better than expected, I guess.
They did indeed.
But
Considering I think when you look at them last year, they had a really good start and they dropped off, and then this year they've
dropped
kind
off.
of been, they've kind of gone back from midfield to kind of like back markers
slowly towards back markers. Yeah.
So I think Valtteri did the best he could considering where he started.
Could it be that the Audi deal is maybe taking up a lot of their focus?
No.
I'm just asking the question. I know it's a completely different set of regs in 2026, etc., but I'm just asking the question.
I would probably say that because Audi are coming in, they're like, we don't really need to spend that much money on development and stuff
maybe
because we're going to get taken over anyway.
Yeah.
Is what I'm thinking. If I'm like the head honcho at Alpha, so I would be like, we're not investing any more money because this is done in 2 years.
Yeah, because I don't fully know exactly what they can do, but if Alpha could essentially stop developing their car right now as much and then pour money into the 2026 regs, is that allowed? Is that a thing? I genuinely don't fully understand the.
Well, it wouldn't be in terms of like so what it is obviously the main regs around engine and KERS and stuff like that. It's more electrical energy and stuff like that. So
yes,
I think Audi probably are just doing a lot of work on it.
Probably
anyway.
Yeah.
So it could be similar to like a Mercedes things like, we know what's happening in 2016, which we're just going to focus on that.
Yeah.
Audi are probably looking at it and it's like, are Valtteri and Zhu the drivers to take us forward in 2026 kind of thing. And
Zhu, yes.
Yeah.
I'm not entirely sure about Valtteri.
Do you think that they may need like an experienced driver considering?
Yeah, I mean, they could.
I mean, they're a new team.
I think they would definitely need an experienced driver. I know that there are a couple of rumors thrown around about, bringing in Vettel exactly like Schumacher had, where essentially you would bring in that very experienced head, bring Schumacher out of retirement to build up Mercedes and make it into what it is today. German manufacturer, Audi. German manufacturer, Mercedes. So you can see the similarities and the pipe dreams of some, myself included. And you can potentially see how that would work. I think that there would be nothing wrong with doing that. Personally, please do it. But at the same time, I don't know exactly what the right sort of situation is. Maybe they drop Bottas and go for Daniel Ricciardo. Maybe they stick with Bottas. Maybe they go with Seb. Maybe they do whatever it is. However, Zhu isn't going anywhere. Joe isn't going anywhere at all.
3 years, also 3 years down the line, a lot's going to change.
Yeah, so. True. But I
and they have the synthetic fuel, which they're going to be using as well. So I know if you want to play into your pipe dream of Vettel coming back, I know he's big on that.
Exactly. There we go. So it's just everything. The stars are aligning.
Okay. AlphaTauri.
You know who it is next. You know who it is. It's my least favorite team. It's my least favorite team.
I know. You're just loving life at the moment. Okay.
I don't know if you heard.
It's not your least favorite team. It's not your least favorite team. It is Williams. It's Williams.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh,
because
Albon. Sorry, I forgot about Albon. I do apologise, Mr. Albon. I apparently can't read. So, Albon, yeah, he did all right.
Albon, yeah, Sergeant, yeah, did all right.
Sargent participated in the race. I think there wasn't too much more that he could do, and unfortunately finished a lap behind, everyone else. The same as Piastri. We'll get to McLaren in a minute. But just not the race that you would have wanted, for sure. I think it's disappointing that he finished last.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see what happens with the future of Williams, because then I know they made a good step forward coming from back markers, and Albon's doing really well to make it essentially a midfield team. But I'm not seeing that much progression, and it's more, like the Alfa Romeos have gone backwards rather than the Williams has made that jump forward.
Potentially,
so it'll be interesting to see what James Vowles can do with the team.
I think the Mercedes partnership that they currently have with Williams, I think, has brought them forward enough, right? Yeah. And then essentially now it's up to Williams to really pull themselves even further. Especially with, I think if Mercedes were dominating like they were a few years ago, I think that potentially even Williams would, be in a similar situation to Haas, be a bit further up the field with a slightly quicker car. But now I guess it's up to Williams to do their best and keep on keeping on, really. I think James will do a pretty good job, no doubt about that whatsoever. And this is in no way disrespectful or anything like that, but I'm a little bit scared that Sargent could potentially become the new Latifi and finish pretty much rock bottom every single race, through no real fault of his own. But he is in his rookie season in arguably one of the slowest cars, so I would like to give him a little bit more time. But at the same time, Albon is doing incredibly well. And I think it goes to show exactly why Red Bull were interested in him in the first place, why they put him in the Red Bull, why a couple of different teams were interested in signing him as well, because he is quick. He is a very good driver. So it's just obviously a shame how everything happened with him and Red Bull, etc., blah, 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 blah. But at the same time, he's doing what he can do with the car that he's given, and he's doing pretty well.
Yeah, no, good on him. Okay, now you can get the dirt off your shoulder.
Oh my god! Fine, I've been waiting so long. The last team, not last in the race, but might as
I'm
well
not even going to say anything. We're going to call it the
just
McQuillan segment.
How McLaren fans, how are we doing? Because it's okay to talk. We can get through this. Okay, I don't fully understand what on earth is going on with this car. We had such a I'm speaking directly to McLaren fans now. Everyone else can just skip forward 20 seconds or whatever. I mean, let's be honest, it's going to be longer than 20 seconds. Anyway, McLaren fans, what's going on? Seriously, it's so disappointing that we've gone from the highs of Baku. The highs, it wasn't even that high. And now we're P17 and 19. I partly blame De Vries for forgetting how to brake, going into turn one, and we'll swing round back to that.
I'm not saying anything,
but I'm just, lads, what's going on? Please.
When's the next update? Have they got some big updates for Imola?
No. We've got nothing. There's nothing. Nothing is happening. I think that essentially part of what happened was obviously McLaren have changed the direction of their car, and the idea or the concept around their car has changed. So the car is now where it should have been at the beginning of the season, and that was Baku. So I guess hopefully this is an anomaly. I'm really searching for any silver lining, and we'll obviously see, how the McLaren guys do down at Imola, because especially Norris scored a podium there 2 seasons ago. Last season, 2 seasons.
I think it was 2 seasons ago.
2 seasons ago. Was it? Anyway, he scored the only non-Mercedes / Red Bull podium, I think, that year. No, only
Because he
non-Mercedes
did
Red Bull
really good
Ferrari.
qualifying,
Sorry,
didn't he?
yeah, phenomenal. So hopefully there's a little bit of Imola luck for Lando or even for Piastri. I think that Piastri also had a long brake pedal. It was a systems issue. I also like how I know the ins and outs of the McLaren race better than I do the other teams as well. You can clearly tell like which team is my favourite. But Piastri had a technical problem, which wasn't a mechanical problem. It was a systems problem, which meant he had a long brake pedal, and he was essentially nursing the car through most of the race, which is a real shame as well. He could have even potentially have, pushed towards those AlphaTauris as well. I think Norris probably would have been further up had Nick de Vries not used Lando as a brake pedal. But other than that, it's just slightly disappointing. I think that if there weren't issues, maybe P13, 14 would have been more realistic / achievable for the Papaya guys. But it's just not great. Fingers crossed the luck changes, because otherwise, what hope do I have? And it's
man loses what little hope
he
had.
It's also very frustrating because literally 2 years ago it will never get taken away from me, but we had Monza, and that was one of the first McLaren race wins that I can remember for a long time. Obviously before it was Lewis was the last race winner. And it's just so mad that we went from that all the way to beat P17 and 19 in Miami. It just doesn't feel right, especially 2 years ago when you had Sainz, and 3 years ago when you had 3 or 4. Oh my god, how old am I? A few years ago when we had Carlos and Lando, we were fighting for podiums, and it's just disappointing. We got some more sponsors though, so there's that. But it's just disappointing, really. But hopefully, obviously, the new wind tunnel and the technical changes and blah 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 blah. I really hope that something changes. I really, really do. But we'll have to wait and see. Let's wait and see, really. But disappointing.
That was the McLaren segment,
and that was the papaya glass. I couldn't bring myself to have the papaya.
I think you look forward
on.
to the podcast where we don't have a race.
I kinda, yeah, because there's nothing to get disappointed with, really. There's the fingers crossed that we get a new sponsor, but other than that, that's about it.
Don't hurt me.
At least Piastri wasn't sick this week as well. There's that.
Good on him.
But yeah, so overall, what were your thoughts on the race? Because you were texting me most of the way through, and your thoughts were that this race was
boring.
And I thought it was okay for the first.
If it weren't
20
for Max
laps
coming through the field,
it would have been boring.
It'd have been another Baku.
Yet again, Max is the MVP, and there was a reason why he was driver of the day. I think that the race was interesting for the first 20 laps, and then the last few.
Pretty much. It was literally when Max went on his stint, that's when it kind of just dropped down. So he had his overtakes, he had his long stint, and then he came out, had the little battle of Perez, and then see ya.
And then just left him in the dust. I think there are some other bits and pieces we can mention from the race, isn't there?
You can. I wanted to talk about something pre-race.
Oh, please feel free.
The entrances for the
because I have that written down as well.
Which was so awkward, and from someone who knows TV production, not me, very poorly filmed as well. The camera was just cutting at the wrong time.
Yeah,
looking at the wrong things, and it was just I was reading this earlier. And it's like they're trying to make the sport more appealing to the American audience. Yeah. But the Americans are coming to the sport because it's different. Because it's not NASCAR or IndyCar or even any other American sport, which, by the way, they do well, right? Whether you're a fan or not, football, NBA, they do that quite well. They really get the crowd hyped. They don't need to do this for Formula One. They don't. And the drivers don't like it.
I think Will Buxton had a very interesting take. He said that the crowd loved it. And I was like, I bet they did, but I couldn't hear it because there wasn't any crowd microphones for me to listen to.
I heard it basically when like Fernando, Checo, Lewis, and Max came out. There's audible roars, but like Nick De Vries, yay!
But there was literally nothing. It was just like, and now it's the exciting Japanese sensation Yuki Tsunoda, who, by the way, did a which was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. I don't know if you caught that.
No, I didn't.
He came out, he waved to the crowd, and then he like did a little bit of a jog, and then he went. It was pretty good, completely unnecessary, but I'm here for it. So that happened as well. I would, however, like to give points to Mr. Cool J. And the reason for that is because he pronounced every single driver's name pretty much correctly. Like I like pretty much everything was perfect.
Cool J, yeah, he did a really good job.
I think he was a good host.
I also thought
he was a good hype man.
Music, the hype music was good. I think it's Will I Am. I know he's conducted it. I don't know if he wrote it, but I quite like the hype music.
It was okay. I think it would have been less cringe if there was, at football games they have like crowd SFX mics and stuff like that. If you'd have just tuned those in, it would have been a bit less cringe. But it was very pointless, and I know that the drivers didn't like it either.
Yeah.
Especially Max. Max looked like he wanted to be anywhere else other than on that bit of tarmac in the middle of Miami. So yeah, I think Lewis got a pretty good cheer as well at the beginning, which is halfway through, which is great. And so did Logan.
Championship order.
Yeah, Logan got a pretty good introduction as well.
He's the hometown hero.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it was good for the people there, but the TV production could have it left a lot to be desired. And I don't necessarily have a problem with the driver introductions. To be completely honest, I don't really care that much.
I think they should have just filmed it.
Yes,
right?
That's what they should have done.
I think it was the NFL Super Bowl a few years ago, and they had The Rock introducing like the teams and the players and stuff like that. But it was all filmed, right? It wasn't done live, and they weren't walking out. And I thought they should have done something like that.
Yeah, if they wanted something like where they were like live, they could have just had them like standing around their cars, or like their pre-race ritual. Like if they're in the car, they stick their arm up and they wave. If they're like getting ready, they like salute to the camera or something. Like they have a little bit of live interaction, but then they have 10-15 seconds of like highlight reels, maybe some stats as well. Like this is like multiple drivers world champion Fernando Alonso. He is like the second oldest driver oldest driver on the grid, and like give him a little bit of background, like videos of him winning the championship and stuff like that. That would have been really cool. And then you cut to him like waving to the crowd or something like that. Would have been brilliant. Like that's all you have to do. Like it's not that difficult. So it's just really poor. I genuinely think if you gave me Premiere Pro and the access to the archives that they have, I guarantee you I could do a better hype/intro video than they did. Like just using the grid recordings and stuff like that, where they were following around cars and stuff. So
NFL one, and I'm going to send it to you, and then you can kind of.
I'll watch it afterwards.
Not for now.
No. That's not how podcast production works. But yeah. So
excuse me. Do you write the rules?
Well,
there are no rules when it comes to.
There are no rules. Yeah. But yeah. So
here it is. Here it is. I found it. I'll send that to you.
Thank you very much. But yeah, so I think that it was a bit cringe, but do you know what? If it's done well, great.
If it's done well,
it wasn't done well.
It could be quite good.
I think a lot of people hated on it because everyone else was hating on it, but
I just thought it just wasn't done well.
Yeah, like it wasn't done well.
But yeah,
especially
to talk about something,
especially with the budget that they had. What was that? Sorry.
Was there something you wanted to talk about? Because I brought this up, and you're like, "Yes, it's on my list."
Yeah. So the talks of like the no yellow flags, red flags, or safety car.
Ooh, no yellow flags. So not even when.
Nope.
Nick DeVries
Nope.
hit into the back of.
Nope.
Oh, okay.
Nothing. Not a
Wow,
single
that's
yellow
interesting.
flag, not a single red flag, and no safety car, which
Ah,
is mad.
yeah.
I think it was like 1,158 clean laps of racing.
Oh, I can understand no red flags.
Other
Safety
than
car.
other
Okay.
than Nick shunting Lando at the start, which it's just annoying, really. But there were no yellow flags or anything for it. But it was marked as an incident. So technically that wasn't a clean lap, but the rest of them were all clean.
Oh wow, interesting.
Yeah, which is surprising. And so essentially another sub
Shows
point
how
of that.
interesting the race was when there was no
Yeah,
yellow.
pretty much. Another
Right.
sub point of that is that the teams actually underfueled the cars. So a lot of lift and coasting had to happen during the race.
I mean, I would have thought there would at least been one safety car.
Me
in
too,
Miami,
yeah.
considering how close they are to the walls.
Especially like we should have used Bernie Ecclestone's thing where it's just like we just turn the sprinklers on halfway through the race. To make it interesting. Like, right, no safety car after 30 laps, let's press the big red rain button. But yeah, so there was no incidents, no nothing. It was just quite interesting. That hasn't happened that often. And Max Verstappen is also only the 5th driver to ever finish the race winning after starting in P9.
Yeah, I heard that.
Only the 5th ever, which is a bit mad. I don't know who the other 4 are. I'm not really asked, but it's an interesting fact. I'm just gonna throw that out there. A couple of other bits and pieces as well from me that I want to very quickly discuss is Roger Federer / James Marsden being mistaken for Roger Federer was way too funny. I don't know why. It was the combination of getting his name wrong and the face that he pulled.
The face, he had that big smile on his face, like he knew they've got my name wrong.
It was so good. And I really like James Marsden, and he's a big F1 fan as far as I'm aware. Like, he actually really enjoys it.
I like
he's
him.
Brilliant.
He's a good actor.
Brilliant in Sonic as well. Unbelievable. Sonic. If you haven't seen the Sonic film, go and watch it. It's actually fantastic. The first one is fantastic. It was just funny. It was funny.
It was just that sunglasses. He's got the big one.
Which is the bib is not flattering.
James Marsden or Roger Federer, you think, who is that?
Who the hell is that?
Yeah, big like white smile, and I'm like, oh, but this poor guy.
It just was funny. And then speaking of Roger Federer, they also called somebody on the McLaren pit wall Pato Award. I think that was on Friday. It was during one of the practice sessions, and Pato tweeted like, "Hey, at F1, that you got the wrong guy," and it was just him on a beach. But something else I wanted to talk about, which was during the grid walk that Martin Brundle for Sky Sports F1, he usually does, obviously before the races. He was doing his grid walk, and he noticed Roger Federer sort of behind some very flimsy security. There was like a bit of tape or whatever. And he bumped into Sir Jackie Stewart, and he was like, "Oh, brilliant." I'm explaining this for people who have no idea what the hell happened. He said, "Oh, like, I'd love to talk to Roger." And Jackie went, "I'll get him for you, don't worry about it." And ducked under this tape, right, and burst through the security. And the security tried to stop him from going to speak to Roger Federer. And, like, Twitter was in uproar because you're telling me that you're restraining Sir Jackie Stewart, the oldest living drivers world champion that we have, and you're telling them that he can't go and say hello to somebody he personally knows, Roger Federer. You're saying that he can't go and say hello to him. Huge L for the Miami security. Massive L for them. Massive W for Jackie Stewart. He's my hero of the weekend. And then just as a side note as well, like security were like, "What the hell are you doing? Like, what's going on?" Like, you can see Martin was like, "Oh no, please don't get in trouble for me, Jackie." And then the MVP Russell George sort of came in and sort of just was like, "Hi, Jackie, what the hell's going on?" Said hello to Roger as well because he's met him a couple of times, been put in contact because of some partnerships with Mercedes and stuff like that. But it all got sorted out in the end. But it was just very disrespectful to the Formula One history that and I'm not expecting the security knew who Jackie Stewart would be, but they should have handled it in a different way. It was just very disappointing that, arguably one of the biggest living legends has, like, at his age, to fly all the way to Miami and do what he does is phenomenal. Hats off to the bloke. And he always comes very well dressed, might I add, too.
He does.
Like, he's a. Do you know what he does half the time? He's a Rolex ambassador.
Yes, I've heard about this. Yeah.
And in all honesty, Jackie, I really hope that people buy Rolexes this weekend because you really did pull it out the bag. But yeah, so I think that it's a shame that happened, but I don't expect security to know exactly who everyone is. Like, more than likely, these security guards have no interest in F1. They're just told, keep these guys away from Roger or whoever the person is. But I do appreciate George sort of stepping in and being like, hey, look, this is fine. Like, he's with me. Like at the very least. I don't know exactly what words were said, but everything worked out fine in the end. It was a non-incident incident, really. It's just disappointing, really, to be completely honest with you. And just to explain a little bit of background, Georgia actually was met Roger Federer a couple of times, and I found this out because of the High Performance podcast, which is also available and may or may not be better than this podcast. But yeah, so they were discussing about how he's met him before, and he's a bit like George is a big fan of Federer and stuff like that, and the fact that they met each other and seemed to get on pretty well. So there was a little.
I've
bit
seen
of a
George at a few
too.
tennis events. Actually.
Yeah, I think George is pretty into his tennis actually, which is nice. So yeah, just pretty interesting. That was all. And then also just on the subjects of podcasts as well, Gunther was also on the High Performance podcast as well, and I started listening to that Saturday. Haven't finished it yet, but I will continue listening because it'd be very interesting to get a bit more background around the book, his motivations, the mix situation, how he sort of rose up, and the mindset that he had around what he does and how he managed to do it, etc., etc. It's pretty interesting.
I could have talked about it, but it is a very good podcast. I sent it to you anyway.
You were the one that introduced me to it. And if
he does talk about how he got into Formula One.
Yeah.
His short stint at Red Bull.
Yeah.
He talks about Mick. He talks about handling drivers and things like that. And it's a very different side to Gunther. If you've only seen him on Drive to Survive, and super interesting.
I think Jake said it best. He said you see the caricature, which is Gunther Steiner, on your TV screens a lot, but you don't know the real Gunther.
Well, even Gunther said it best. He goes, I'm myself, right? And Netflix chooses what they choose to show.
Yes, yeah, that was a quote that they played.
I don't pick what Netflix shows.
No.
It's what they choose to show. But yeah, he also talks about like his management style and things like that. So it's if you're into Formula One, it's a very, very good podcast to listen to.
They also have like loads of other guests. Like they've had Lando, Zach Brown, George.
Christian Horner's been on there.
Christian
Horner had a very good story that Gunther mentions, where I think I need to go back and listen to the Christian one. But anyway, two of the drivers were, I don't know if it was Daniel and Max or if it was Mark and Seb. I'll have to go back and listen to. But he basically made him go to Great Ormond Street Hospital, and is basically, to put it into context, you're fighting is nothing compared to what real people.
It was as far as I remember, it was Seb, and Mark.
Okay, which was kind of sounds cheesy if you listen to it, but I think it's actually quite a good idea.
I think it's a brilliant idea. Yeah,
puts into perspectives like, look at what you're getting angry about, and look at what's really out there. So whatever your disagreements are, put them aside for the good of the team, kind of thing. So yeah. So, but yeah, have a listen, and then when you do, we can kind of go over it a little bit more in depth, because he talks about the mix situation. It'll be interesting to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I'll give it a full listen, and we can report back next week maybe, because I guess next week, this week technically there is no race week, but next week we have a little bit of a triple header. So we are going to Imola, then Monaco, and then Spain, back to back to back, which should be very interesting, to be completely honest.
Yeah, no, it's going to be good. It's as Fernando mentioned, Aston suited tracks.
Yep.
We've got street specialist Perez at Monaco. Hopefully there won't be any shenanigans like last year
No.
with him. And obviously with Monaco, usually it's whoever's P1 is going to be winning the race, but safety cars, red flags could give us some surprise podium positions. So that'll be interesting. And it'll be interesting to see Spain without the chicane.
Yes, it will be. Absolutely. I think, obviously Monaco will be quite a lot about the Saturday. Spain, I think, will be a lot about the Sunday, in complete honesty, and the new circuit layout.
So.
And I think Italy could be
Saturday as well.
Yeah. Spain Saturday could be particularly interesting as well. But I guess that it will be pretty interesting to see how full race distance goes with the new layout. And then Italy will, I don't know. I guess there's some upgrades and stuff coming to Italy and stuff as well.
A lot of teams are getting upgrades in Imola, but I think it's now that they've done kind of like the high speed tracks in like Qatar, Miami, Baku, and now they're going into these kind of like very technical,
more technical,
mechanical grip, low speed grip. So it'll be interesting to see what upgrades come.
Yeah, definitely.
I know Mercedes have got a lot coming for Imola, so
yeah, I think that a lot of focus on Imola is also because like it's a well-known track as well, where there's lots of data compared to Miami, where they've been there once before. Plus, if something doesn't work or you don't like it, you've shipped it all the way to bloody the United States from your factory. So unless you're Haas and you've shipped something from down the road in North or South Carolina, one of the Carolinas, then it can be a bit more of an issue. So I can see why a lot of teams waited until Imola to bring upgrades and stuff like that. So yeah, it should be interesting for sure.
Coolio.
There's a mosquito. Oh, I don't do mosquitoes. Anyway, sorry, that was a completely distracted by that. But yeah, I think that's. I mean, we've been recording for 1 hour and 7 minutes now. Do you want to save our tracks for next week, or do you just want to go ahead and rip the Band-Aid off?
No, we'll save it for next week. We don't have a podcast then. But if mine changes again because of traffic conditions, I'm going to be so annoyed.
I think you can probably like take a screenshot of the track layout and stuff like that.
No, I refuse to.
But can you maybe give us a clue? What continent is your race on?
Asia.
Asia. Okay, so is mine. If we've gone for the same thing,
I don't think we have.
I don't know if we have, but it would be funny if we'd gone for the same thing.
What letter does your country start with?
J.
I know, mine. We can't choose one where there's already a race.
Yes, we can.
No, we can't.
I said a city they've never been to.
I thought you said a country they've never been to.
I didn't necessarily say country. I just said city. Because do you not remember? I said that if you could do the like Switzerland, you could technically have the first inter-country Grand Prix.
Yeah,
because
but
you
you'd
could go
have a new country because it'll be Switzerland.
yeah, true. Maybe I did. Maybe I've broken my own rules. Oh no! Oh no!
I'm pretty sure
you
said we can't go to that place that we've been before.
Oh no! Maybe I'll revisit it. All right. Well, I'll come up with a different one. A country.
Also, how many countries in Southeast Asia begin?
Southeast? You just said Asia.
Oh, Asia. Sorry. Because I said Southeast because I know you got Japan.
And that's about it.
Kyoto or something like that.
I can't think of any other countries in Asia that begin with J.
Okay. Technically, my place is not even a country, I think.
What?
Is it like a municipality or something? I don't even know.
A municipality?
Yeah.
What the hell are you?
Hold on. Let me see what it's called, and then you might be able to guess.
I have zero clue as to what.
No, they just count it as a city.
It's just a city.
Yeah, it's a city.
Okay.
Well,
All right.
anyway, maybe
Fine.
it's like I picked Hong Kong,
Oh, okay. Yeah. So
but
yeah.
then technically it's now a city part of the special representation of China or
Yeah,
something,
technically it's
which
part of
breaks the
China.
rules.
So which breaks the rules. So should we just scrap that and just say that we've got the two?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, look, I'm glad we had this conversation. That's really good then.
Okay.
Yeah. Do we do we have anything else that we want to talk about this week? I'm stumped. I don't think there's anything from me, to be completely honest.
No, there isn't. I think yeah, we've covered everything, and I'm sure some drama will come up in these 2 weeks.
Yeah, I was going to say let's hope so, but yeah, let's hope so. We spent quite a lot of time talking about the race and qualifying and stuff like that, so which is sort
Yeah.
of what this podcast is intended to do. So I'm not overly bothered. But yeah,
Yeah. All right. Thank you all for listening. No race this week, so fill your time and boots with something else.
the other episodes of this podcast.
I was going to say, if you're into, I'm sure there must be some IndyCar or Formula E. Formula E was in Monaco actually
It was.
recently.
No idea what happened.
No idea.
No idea.
Yeah.
I think McLaren did pretty well in quali and then dropped off during the race. I think.
Yeah. But
No idea.
yeah. Thank you all for listening, and we'll catch you next week where we talk about our dream tracks in countries where we can have raced before. Because the original rule was no country that we've been in before.
I feel like I can probably pull together another one because I have another very good idea.
I'm not changing. I'm not changing.
All
Keep
right,
yours.
I'll keep mine.
Technically, with like 3 races in America, it doesn't really matter.
If I have time, I'll come up with another one as well. Purely because I can.
Yeah, and if you listen to the Gunther Steiner podcast, we'll talk about that.
Yes, we can also talk about that as well. So yeah. All right then. Well, an hour and 12 minutes. I'll let you wrap it up. You've got 9 seconds.
Okay. See you in Imola.
3, 2. See you guys.